All right, this is the first time I've done this. I'm not sure exactly how this is supposed to work. Let's see here. I don't even know how to work this thing. Any questions? It's kind of different. All right. Well, I just got off a call with a guy in Vancouver just starting a business, and he had questions around how to pay yourself from your corporation, whether it's salary or dividends. And it's age-old question. It's probably the biggest question we get, or the most frequent question we get from people who have their own corporation, is that they want to know whether they should pay salary or dividends. And how I answer the question, I usually do that this way is explain that there should be business first. You want to be profitable, and if you can put your energies into becoming a more profitable business, selling more, increasing your revenue, lowering your expenses. That's the way to do it. And tax is just one of those components. So, really being careful a little bit about how you structure that in your mind that you're going tax, 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 tax all the time, rather than giving yourself a chance to be more profitable and make more money from that perspective. So, the basics for paying yourself a salary versus dividend, I think, are the first point would be to do it for business purposes, to pay yourself a salary for the work that you do in the business, as an employee of the business, for the labor that you put in, and then you pay yourself dividends for what you own in your business, which is, the investments that you've made and how they pay you back passively. So that's kind of the structure of how I like to have that conversation, or at least get that mindset going. And then if you're taking less than a market salary, then you would kind of put that into your equity, so that becomes more investment for you and hopefully pays off later. So that's the first component of understanding salary versus dividends. But then, I mean, we obviously get into administrative things, tax reasons to do one or the other. My business partner Paul and I just went through a little bit of a analysis, and we're both residents of BC, and found that salary actually pays less tax. But there's a big caveat on that, which is that when you're paying yourself a salary, you have to pay into CPP, not only the employee portion, but the employer portion as well, which puts you over 10% in payroll tax, I guess. I like to think of CPP as savings, anyways. So it doesn't really bother me to put money into that. But some people I know really feel like it's not going to be there when we retire or turn 65 or 67 or whatever it is now that we get that. So it's really one of those things where, if you see it as a tax, then you're going to be, really struggling to pay that. But if you see it as an investment, then, it's kind of a moot point. When we talk about strictly tax, you are going to pay a little bit less tax on the salary side. So that was an interesting analysis we did, and seems to work for us. But that would vary by province, depending on the rates that you're in. So yeah, that's kind of the salary versus dividends on the tax side. And then there's just administratively that it's usually a lot more straightforward to pay yourself a dividend, especially when you're first starting out, because you don't have to create a payroll account, make sure you're keeping up with remittances, and withholding tax at source and all of that kind of stuff. So administratively, salary is a bit of a burden, and dividends are a little smoother to do, but I don't think it's the be all and end all. I mean, if you're going to be running a business, you probably want to set up a payroll account. Not a huge deal if you've got bigger plans. So best to do that early. Get yourself on a salary and pay yourself a market wage if you can. If not, if you're paying yourself less than a market rate, then understand that you're taking that effort and the money that you should be receiving, and putting that into an investment in your company, and you should be looking to get a return on that investment as well. Cool. Oh, thanks, Taylor. Really cool. Nice to see you've watched the video on salary versus dividends. Tried to break it down there, but it tends to be a little more rushed when I'm in front of the camera like that. And I want to do a bit of a live video because I just got off a call and this question came in, and the guy had asked. He honestly, he had looked at my videos and read the blog articles and all of that, but still had questions about it, and that was his big one. Yeah, well, what about for me? Like I want to know for me, is salary or dividends better? So totally understand that people have their individual situations. But yeah, the business component of it is huge. I think you really want to make sure that you are understanding it from a business perspective, because if you can put your efforts into growing your business, being more profitable, that's going to pay off way, way more than saving 0.5% on tax, or, a couple $1,000 here and there. Like, you want to definitely put um, your, your efforts into just being more profitable, selling more, um, uh, watching your margins for maybe services that you're doing, or if you have labor, more of a service type business, you want to watch your labor costs. So all good. Oh, how you doing? Oh, great to see. Yeah, just trying out live. I was like starting to set it up, and I was like, oh, they're letting me go live. This is pretty cool. We're almost at 1,000 subscribers now, and they let me go live, so I'm just trying it out this time around. Any situations where it does not make sense for a business to incorporate, specifically related to tax? And yes, there are. There's some really good examples of that. And what I kind of think of that as like the sole proprietor business, where it's really closely held to you. So you run your business, you are your business. Maybe you have a couple employees or something like that. If you're earning sort of under $150,000 a year, you've got tax sheltering that's going to work for you right within the personal tax system. So if you're a sole proprietor, you're making $150,000 or less every year, you're going to create RSP room. And you can, even if you can't spend $150,000 a year, you're going to be able to put money into that RSP and tax shelter that money just through a sole proprietorship. So that's when it makes sense to not, like, if you don't, not going to like have a super risky business, like you're going to get sued and people are going to come after your house or something like that. There's legal reasons you might want to incorporate otherwise. But for the most part, if you can insure yourself out of that risk, then, and you're making less than that 150, and you're not looking to like grow your business and have lots of employees, it makes sense to just stay as a sole proprietorship. I don't see any issue with that if you have that tax shelter and RSP. So that's an example there. Cool. Couscous, native and wants to start a sneaker business on the reserve. Okay, cool. Trying to figure out how to go about it and best way to do so. Any info, any tips? Oh, thanks for the feedback there as well. So yeah, starting the business. I don't know, like I don't have a lot of knowledge on how tax is differentiated within the reserve, or anything like that. But if you're going to be selling like online business, I would push past any of that anyways. Just treat it like the tax is one thing, but the business is a totally other. And you just want to be focused as much as you possibly can on the business itself. And at first it's a real challenge, because until you get to scale, like you're going to be driving to the you're going to be driving to the post office to like send these out, and you hear all these stories. Like Tim Ferriss had this great guy on his podcast that had started like an e-commerce business up to $1 million in sales, how he got there. And really for the first while, he's just like taking orders and driving down to the post office, like one by one, sending them out. So I'd say like the difference between somebody that's successful in a business like that and somebody that isn't is like your willingness to just keep going and not stop. Like, and reflecting on what's working and what's not. If something's not working, like you try to switch things up and try things a little bit differently. So That's like the best advice I could give you. I think that's the difference from the owners that we've seen that have really pushed past and are being successful is like persistence. Absolutely on the persistence side. I can't stress that enough. It's huge. Awesome. Um, yeah, okay, revenue, yeah, 30 to 50, like that's super doable. Like you can like work backwards from that amount, like have a goal of how much revenue you want, how many what you're going to sell each product for, and then divide how many units you need to push. Like, what's your goal for how many units you want to sell? It can be that simple. And when you break it down to that, like, I need to sell one a day for every weekday or something like that, then that becomes the achievable part of that goal. 30 to 50,000 in revenue might sound like, oh, how am I going to get there? Break it down into its components. I'm going to sell it for this. I need to sell this many to get there, and then just push for that number. I need to sell one today or two today or five today or six this week. Like you can set your goals to that extent. For sure. All right. So yeah, this was really a test run on the live. It's so cool to see like people just jump on here totally randomly. I feel like uh, we're pretty invisible most of the time. So really cool to see everybody. And yeah, I'm gonna do this more often. I definitely want to get on the live videos and answer questions. Man, I don't even know where to start. So I'll talk to you, John, and figure out how to make that work. But it'll probably be a set time each week or once a month or something to jump on here as an Ask Me Anything. I'll start off with a topic, and then just go from there and answer some questions. Yeah, I really want to just be helpful, get you guys started on your businesses. I know there's not a lot of channels here in Canada for Canadian business owners that talk about finances and tax and stuff. So that's what I want to help people do, get started with a bit of financial knowledge, specifically for Canadians. So thank you guys for your support. Thanks for jumping on today. And yeah, hopefully see you guys on the next one. I'll definitely do this more often. Cool. Thanks, guys. Cheers.